What's up, everybody? Welcome to the first ever live broadcast of the Super Deformed Gamescast. My name is John. I'm one of your hosts, and I got Brian, Steve, and Brandon with me. What's going on, guys?
Hey, hey.
Hey.
Hello.
All right, so this is our first live broadcast ever, and basically what we're all about. We've got a few videos up on YouTube already, but what we're all about is just four dudes talking about video games and whatever other kind of interesting shit is in our minds. At the end of the week, every Saturday at 8 o'clock, give or take. We're pretty flexible. So guys,
That's what she said.
I'm not okay. You know what, dude? That was a softball. All right, I'm gonna try.
I'm glad someone hit it.
You didn't even have to try for that, dude. All right, don't worry. You will get many more opportunities as the night goes on. The drunker I get, man. Okay, this is bourbon number 2. All right. So it's been oh shit, that's some good stuff. So it's been a pretty big week for a lot of gamers. It's Metal Gear Solid 5 week. And I know I am enjoying the fucking shit out of this game. I'm about 20 hours in, and
25 for me.
25. I don't know. I don't know how people are finishing this game in 40 hours.
Yeah, I'm 20% completion. Obviously, that's not the whole game.
Well, you know, and
that is the whole game, rather. That counts like the platinum trophy, getting 100%.
I don't know how people were able to act. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love the game, but I don't know how people got through the review, because I know that I guess Konami ushered everybody into a room and like a boot camp, like a review boot camp.
Yeah, like Grand Theft Auto 4 did that back in the day. They did that for playing games. Konami's always done that for Metal Gear games, though. It's a long-running tradition.
This game has so much fucking content that I can guarantee you I'll finish the game, but I don't know if I'm going to get through all those side ops. 150?
Yeah.
That's a lot of bullshit, man.
I mean, like, I could see myself platinuming this by next summer or something if I play it once in a while, but it's not happening this year. Not with this fall lineup coming.
I'm not even gonna try, man. I'm not even gonna try with that shit. But I am loving the game. Brian, have you? Well, actually, no. You're on PC right now.
It's not on PC yet. It's supposed to be being released later in the year. I'm for those that don't know, as the listeners, I'm the resident PC Master Race guy. But obviously, I will be playing it. I think it's good that it's good that they released a game that had a lot of content, was very open world, because the last game, trying to remember the name, not Guns of the Patriots, the one right after that was like
Peace Walker.
Peace Walker or Snake Eater?
Exactly. Well, yeah, exactly.
Snake Eater was 3. Yeah, Peace Walker was the one.
Peace Walker was like 12 hours of actual like storyline content. I mean, it was like an appetizer, but they still charged people $60 for it. So it's good to see Konami kind of, redeem themselves and be like, hey, we kind of fleeced you with the last one, but here's a lot of content that you'll enjoy. We're sorry.
Oh, if you want to talk about fleecing, we'll talk about Metal Gear Solid 5 all day.
All day long.
Yeah.
It might be the most fleecing they've ever done.
Yeah.
Have you seen the microtransactions in that?
It's pretty ridiculous.
You can buy free-to-play coins that cost more than the game costs at retail.
Here's the thing. I don't know. Here's the thing about that. I don't plan on doing any of the microtransactions. I don't need to play to win, and I'm certainly not going to. I mean, I don't buy Metal Gear to play online or to
It affects the single-player progress, though.
Does it really?
Absolutely, it does. Absolutely, it does. Have you ever tried to send your troops out on missions and it told you didn't have enough fobs?
I just started sending my troops out into combat missions.
Okay, exactly. Well, at the beginning you can only send out 2 at a time, and if you try to send out a third, it'll tell you that you need to build more fobs. You don't unlock that until actually way later in the game. I haven't even unlocked it yet. But to build fobs, those are what cost the mother base coins, which are what you get as daily login bonuses, like a mobile game, or you just buy them from the store, and they cost a shitload of money. I think like the real dollar value of a fob is it's between like $15 and $20.
Wait, what the fuck?
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, I'm not fucking with you. I'm serious. So if you don't spend the $15, $20, whatever, you're limited to only being able to send out 2 of your guys on those little missions at a time, and that's single player content.
You know what it is? Konami's worried that they're not going to be able to earn enough money to support all their fucking pachinko machines after Metal Gear Solid 5. I mean, I don't know, man. Like, I think there's a time and a place for microtransactions. I think Dead Space 3 is a good example of that, where they didn't, they were there, but they didn't force them on you. You could completely finish the game. You could 100% the game like I did.
Dead Space 3 had so many problems, and it kind of stems from the microtransactions. They're a part of it. because the game is designed for multiplayer.
I mean,
This is awesome.
Yeah, well,
Well,
yeah.
not for Dead Space. I mean,
Steve thinks it's awesome.
Yeah,
Steve thinks it's awesome.
It is, but it's not Dead Space.
But I don't know. I think it speaks to a larger problem within the industry in general right now, and it's I'm not saying we're on the verge of a major market crash like the 1983 ET, because that's fear mongering. That's ridiculous.
The industry as a whole, no, but AAA maybe.
AAA, yeah, well, it kind of stems back to that conversation that we had a couple days ago, you and me, Brian, about the ballooning, and Brandon made a really good point of this on his Twitter feed as well, actually, about the ballooning costs of AAA development and what it means for release dates and the quantity of AAA games going forward on an annual basis. And I think a really good example that I think we brought up, Brian, you weren't around for this, but was Resident Evil 6 in 2012. When that came out, it sold 5 million copies. I can't remember what kind of a profit it turned for Capcom, but after 5 million copies, they considered it a commercial bust, a commercial failure. And I remember hearing that, and I was like, in what kind of a world do we live in where a video game sells 5 million copies and it's considered a flop?
One in which you have runaway production budgets. It very much reminds me of the movie industry, where you have these major production studios that have these crazy budgets to play with, and you got guys like Michael Bay who put in a film that costs $100 million, $110 million, $120 million to make, and may or may not, it has to have a huge weekend, otherwise it's a commercial flop. Whereas on the flip side, you have independent filmmakers who can make a movie for 10 or 20 million, and it can gross 50, 60, 70 million, and it's a huge commercial success. It's the same thing in the gaming world. You have independent studios or lower or smaller studios that are starting to make very, very good games and are finding ways to kind of circumvent the whole AAA production juggernaut, and they're making very, very good profits, which is, I think, where the market will be stable. It's the AAA is you have companies like Activision and Electronic Arts that are just way too invested in how can we stick it to people for as much money as humanly possible every day, and that model's just not sustainable.
I think that's a really good point, and I think it also speaks. I think the other, the flip side of that is, you mentioned companies like EA and EA and Activision and companies like that. These are all companies that are heavily engrossed in annualization of titles like Assassin's Creed and Madden and NHL. Have
you ever looked at how many different studios make an Assassin's Creed game?
Yeah.
It's like 15, and it's like in all different parts of the world.
Yeah. Well, and that really, look at what happened to Assassin's Creed Unity. How many different studios made Assassin's Creed Unity, Brandon? I'm
gonna look it up because it's a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah, look it up. I know it was a lot, but and so you had. I'm gonna guess. We'll say 10 studios collaborated on Assassin's Creed Unity.
Oh, like that.
And it might be more. And the game, when I bought it and I played it, and it was an abomination. You were falling through the world. People were shooting up in the air. I played it on PS4. People's faces were disappearing. It was practically a horror game. It was awful. It was like my arms would come off and fly off in different directions. It was unbelievable.
Okay, I found it. It's 9 studios.
9 studios. So I was close. Nine.
Yeah, get this. Ubisoft Montreal, Toronto, or Ubisoft Montreal, Kiev, Singapore, Shanghai, Annecy, Montpellier, Bucharest, Quebec, and Chengdu all contributed, like some pieces, and then they just mash it together at the end, and I hope it works.
Just the sheer amount of logistical BS that entails, having to deal with coding in random different languages, shipping content to each place for assimilation, different programming engines, everything else that would go into that. I cannot see that being an efficient model for producing anything, let alone a video game or something incredibly technical.
Well, look at Destiny, right? Destiny, story issues aside, Destiny was made by one team. It was made by one developer. Bungie developed Destiny. They had one in-house team doing it. And granted, they worked on it for years, but it came out. The story is what it is. But it is a very, very technically sound, very, very well-made game, and nobody can deny that. It runs smooth. I have rarely encountered a glitch or a hitch in those. I used to play it a lot. I don't play it anymore, but
it's polished as fuck.
It's polished as shit, just like The Order is. You know, and again, The Order is one of those games that is very, very divisive, and people have their opinions on The Order. I didn't think it was bad for what it was. I won't say
there's not much there.
But there's not much there. But the game ran like absolute fucking butter.
Absolutely.
It ran like butter.
Drive Club was another one that they nailed.
They did, and you know what? That's what people don't. You know, all these games that are like, you know, I wouldn't say they're critically panned like Drive Club or The Order. They certainly weren't received as well as Sony had anticipated. But look at these games; they didn't need fucking day one patches like Assassin's Creed Unity and you know, like Skyrim did, or you know, what's The Witcher 3 needed a day one patch. Fucking Bloodborne needed a day one patch, and to me with how much money we're paying for big AAA titles these days, that's fucking unacceptable to me. So I mean, I do like games like Drive Club and The Order. They're not my favorites, but it's sad to say that one of my favorite things about these games is that they fucking work out of the box. I don't need to download shit in order to actually get them to play properly. No. And that's a huge point of frustration for me. I don't know how you guys feel about it, but
I think one of the things that the PC world benefits from that the console world doesn't necessarily don't is the concept of open betas and the ability to test a game before release, the ability to get player feedback, you know, before release. Because if you allow a lot of players to get into it, a lot of times these bugs can come to light before you have your big commercial release, which I think is something that consoles should look into, a method of doing that. And particularly now with the Xbox One and the PS4 having so much connectivity with the internet and everything, like why not, you know, have Microsoft or Sony decide to do, hey, look, here's an open beta of a game in development, here's a playable version of the beta, you know, try it out, see what you think, make it like a temporary file in the game system that can be erased. But, you know, I think at this point you have to realize that if you want to have a game that's going to be playable out of the box, you've got to do some decent testing. It can't just be in-house all the time.
Well, I mean, there are games
to do that.
Yeah, I mean, there are games on both consoles that have betas. I mean, Street Fighter. I played the Street Fighter V beta last week.
There's a beta upcoming for Rainbow Six Siege.
There's a beta coming up for Battlefront, but I think what Brian is talking about is Brian. You talk about like an alpha build.
Exactly, that's what I'm talking about. Like that even.
Like early access.
Yeah.
Stuff?
Yeah,
okay.
But the way
but not quite, like in between.
Yeah, the way Steam does it, I'm not a fan of because Steam.
You mean like a real alpha?
Exactly. The problem with Steam is they decided to monetize the whole idea and like create like a donation platform, but what that kind of creates is people that'll create like a crap demo of a game just so they can get a bunch of free money and then kind of pull the game. I don't necessarily want to see that, but yeah, like an actual alpha build that says, hey, here's an early version of this. Try it out, see what we're working with, what are the major game-breaking bugs we've got, and get like a more refined version so that when you do go into beta, you're not fixing, you know, your foundation is secure and you just have to make the cute little adjustments.
So kind of like something like H1Z1, if they had done like a simultaneous console launch with that?
That's a great example. That's probably exactly what I'd like to see.
That's actually a really good idea, and it kind of makes you, I mean, you know, Sony and Microsoft both need to wake up and say to themselves, look, and I know exactly what you're saying. They need to say, look, we've got literally millions upon millions of playtesters at our fingertips. Why not get the community more involved? And, you know, I mean, I'm not saying that it would solve every. I mean, of course, you're going to have games that ship with problems. I mean, it's unavoidable. But, you know, I completely see what you're saying, and I think it's great. I think that would be something that I personally would really support. Especially on console, you know, because I mean, you know, like you said, I mean, you know, the PC, I'm a console guy, but the PC does have certain advantages over consoles, and one of those is just like you stated, early access, and you know, now that mod support is coming to consoles, starting with Fallout, I say, I mean, why not? I mean, why wouldn't that be possible?
You guys better prepare yourself for a shitstorm. When Fallout
regarding
paid DLC coming back? Because Skyrim was just the round one.
Oh yeah,
it's happening all over again. It's gonna happen all over again.
Well,
no.
I would say that there's, especially because me and Phipps have talked about this in terms of day one. You know, in terms of DLC versus mods. The great thing about mods is that the people. I mean, if you look at some of the Skyrim mods for the PC, you're talking about mods that were equal to, if not better than, some of the DLC. So. You've definitely got a situation where, you know, if you want to release a DLC and you want to charge people for it, it better be up to the level of the mods that people can provide for free. So I think that's actually going to increase overall quality, hopefully. But of course, that depends on how well Microsoft and Sony actually support the mod process.
Well, I think Brandon kind of raised a point just now that makes me think. With mod support coming to Fallout, and obviously this is kind of the opening of the floodgates. I mean, now that Bethesda has kind of said, okay, we're going to support mods for Fallout on PC or on Xbox One and PS4, I guarantee you other big companies and other big games will follow suit. At what point do we see companies like Bethesda or Sony or Microsoft or Activision or EA say, we're going to create our own mods and we're going to fucking charge you for them just like DLC?
Well, then my answer to that is: at what point is when is a mod and a DLC a DLC? Because as far as I'm concerned, a mod is nothing more than free DLC. So I guess that it really does. Once you monetize a mod, as far as I'm concerned, it becomes DLC. Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Is a mod is a free modification of the game that comes from the community. The minute it's monetized, as far as I'm concerned, it's downloadable content. Now we've talked about the idea that they might start allowing modders to monetize their mods, which I'm not necessarily against if it's appropriately priced, because I think the market, if you release a crap mod, nobody's going to buy it.
Yeah.
But if you release something like Skyrim, for example, you release something like the Live Another Life mod where you have an alternate starting point, that's a mod I would pay $1 or $2 for. And, a modder would only need, a couple, maybe 50,000 people. If they each buy that for $1, he just made 50 grand, So there's definitely a market there that could work in a microtransactional way, but it would be appropriately priced for the content you're getting.
I think we already saw it when they tried it.
Yeah, exactly.
When they tried it with Skyrim, was it earlier this year or was that last year?
Last year, wasn't it?
It only lasted like a week and they turned it off. I mean, the prices for the issue there was that people were taking popular mods and then transferring it over to paid only, and they weren't charging $1 or $2. It was like $15.
Yeah, not to mention they were doing it on a game that was 4 years old.
Exactly, and that's it. Like $15 though. I mean, yeah, I can see at that point you're not even at microtransactions anymore.
Yeah, you know what? At least it wasn't fucking horse armor. That's all I got to say about that.
I don't know what you're talking about. That was the best Oblivion mod ever. So, so double fuck.
How much did that cost? In 2000?
It was like $12.99. I don't remember. It's been a while now. I want to say
I think the horse armor was literally that is my first real memory of actual paid DLC.
Well, because it was like
fucking horse armor. It
was the first, wasn't it? Like one of the first. It was the first one.
Yeah.
Well, Oblivion came out like 6 months after the Xbox 360.
I never got to play Skyrim or Oblivion on PC, and that really makes me sad. I never got that opportunity. There was actually something else that I wanted to ask you guys and kind of get your opinion on, and kind of something that hit me today as I was flipping through websites. I was looking at the reviews for Mad Max, for PC, Xbox One, and PS4, and I don't know if you guys go to Metacritic or not, Brandon. I know you do. And the average score on Metacritic, I think it's like a 72 right now. And by the way, let me just clarify, I think Metacritic is one of the worst things to happen to the industry in a decade.
But it is a useful tool.
It is a useful tool, but I'm very much not in favor of numbered review scores. I don't think they serve a purpose. Just tell me if the game's good or not. But the reason I bring that up is that from what I've seen and from what I've read, Mad Max is selling exceptionally well. It's not gonna beat up Metal Gear Solid 5, but considering it basically got sent up to die right alongside Metal Gear Solid 5, it's selling exceptionally well for what it is. Dying Light was a game I would.
You can't say it got sent to die though, because WB pushed a huge marketing campaign behind it.
And they put their better team on it.
They did, but I refuse to believe that Sony. I am stunned that game wasn't pushed off. I really am, because in my opinion, releasing
it's because of Just Cause 3. They can't lap those on top of each other.
Yeah, that's a good point. But so my original point is
that's got to be the only reason it wasn't pushed.
You're probably right, but so Mad Max has about a 72 on Metacritic, and it's selling very well. Dying Light, which is a game that that's one of my favorite games of this year. It averaged it was like 71, I think, on Metacritic, and it sold 4 million copies. So I guess my question is how relevant are review scores really when it comes to your average gamer? because I mean most people see Dying Light and it's got a 70 on Metacritic and its color is yellow. It's not green. Destiny was another one. Destiny scored 76, that's a good score. There's nothing wrong with it, but people look at it and they go, oh, it's not an 85. You know, there are actually bonuses given in the industry if your game reaches an 85 Metacritic score or higher.
Yeah, Destiny had a bonus tied into it based on Metacritic.
So Destiny gets a 76 on Metacritic, which is okay. It's not great, but it sold fucking 10 million copies. I mean.
So that was leaked out. Like there was a leaked document that revealed that, like maybe a couple years ago. And I think Activision wanted 90 plus Metacritic scores for Destiny.
Yeah, and that's a whole other story. Is companies actually saying, look, we'll give
didn't even come close.
Which is why, and that's why I think Metacritic is bad for the industry. But so I wanted to ask you guys, kind of get your opinion. Do numbered review scores really matter anymore? Are they really relevant? Are they a driver of sales? In my opinion, they're not. I mean, look at Dying Light and Destiny and Mad Max. So those are just 3 examples from within the past year.
I would say that numbered scores, no, but I think reviews are still critical. I think it's more important to have individual reviews by respected game reviewers that go very in-depth into, here's why I'm giving this score, but here's things that are good about the game, here's things that could have been better, here's things that are outright broken, here's things that are excellent, you know, and actually, like I said, a great example is, you know, another YouTuber, somebody like Angry Joe, or that kind of review process where it's very in-depth and it spends 10 minutes saying, this is exactly why I feel about the game. That's useful. A random numbered score and a blurb from some random douche who didn't like the game or did like the game isn't going to tell you anything. So that would be like my ultimate advice to gamers out there is look at the video reviews, look at somebody talking about the game for 10 minutes, and not just what some idiot puts on Metacritic.
Well, I think that's kind of the era that we're in now. I mean, you know, you have like guys like Angry Joe, and you have guys like, you know, Colin Moriarty and Greg Miller, kind of funny, who I love. I love those two. I love Angry Joe too. And you know, you got guys like PewDiePie who fucking makes like $7 million a year, which just boggles my mind doing this. And I think those are the guys that are really, really. I don't know. I see shit like Metacritic, and I get that IGN. Okay, I'm going to give this game a 7.5 or whatever, and that's great. But I get this, and I agree with you. I think reviews are still relevant. I absolutely do.
Until Dawn is an example.
What's that?
Until Dawn is an example of a game that benefited from the reviews.
Yeah, no, I know, and I absolutely agree. I'm not saying that reviews aren't relevant. I'm saying that numbered scores, I think, completely miss the point. You know, because I mean, okay, like for example, I can't remember. It was what was it? It was a recent game that came out, and it got a fucking 9.1, right? Please tell me the difference between a 9.1 and a fucking 9. What was that extra 0.1%? It boggles my fucking mind. And so you're telling me that a game that gets a 9.1 and a game that gets a 9, that 0.1% makes all the difference? I don't know. That's odd to me. It makes the entire scoring system makes absolutely no fucking sense to me at all. I abhor it. I can't stand it. And I don't think it works either. I don't think people pay attention to it anymore.
Well, I can agree with that. I end up getting most of it from what the buzz is, and like Reddit's telling me people love Mad Max, and it's actually got my interest peaked. I don't care what the reviews for it are, and I'm probably gonna pick it up. And especially for multiplayer games, like, you know, part of the reason why these guys are trusted with insightful opinions because they get early access, but they get early access to a world that isn't populated by the rest of the world. So for multiplayer games, I throw out most of the like Metacritic reviews up front. I want to see what everybody
won all those E3 awards.
Yeah, really.
Game of the Show 2014.
That's my pick. Game of the Show. I actually like the Game Awards. I think it's cool. I think.
I haven't played it. I have no opinion on it. It looked old to me. I had no interest.
It's goofy and it's cheesy, and you know, most of it's fucking ads for games. But you know, at the same time, I mean, I think it serves a purpose, and I think the industry. And you know what? At the end of the day, it's better than that goofy ass Spike TV shit we were being shovel fed for years. That shit was an embarrassment to me. But that's a whole.
Yeah. Jeff Keighley's show is so much better. The one he did last year.
I thought the game show was good. I thought it did what it needed to do. And you know, I was watching. I really like Jeff Keighley. I really do. I respect him.
Oh yeah, he's great.
And I think he's a great spokesman for the industry. And he funded that entire thing by himself. I thought that was great. And
or at least organized all the sponsors and everything.
He did, and had they cut it by about 30 minutes, I think, which I think they're probably.
It was long, yeah.
Yeah, it did run long, but I'll tell you what, I have thought for years that the gaming industry needs, I don't want to say like an Oscar equivalent, but there's really no other point of comparison.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that could that as well, like a game winning, if that thing becomes prestigious enough, I think a game-winning game of the year, I think that alone could drive sales as well. I don't know. I'm looking forward to the game show this year. I think they're doing it again. I think Keighley's doing it again. So
he confirmed like months ago. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really that and the PlayStation experience. I thought was really well done. So I'm looking forward to both those things. Oh, this burp is so fucking good. So what else is going on, guys? What else is happening this week?
Want to talk about Metal Gear? We talked about Mad Max.
Fucking.
I've picked it up.
Yeah. But one of the things.
Wait.
I know one of the things that I was talking to Fist about on, I think it was Friday, was, I walked into GameStop and saw a couple guys playing the newest Madden. And I was like, that's cool, I was looking through other games and everything, and I just kind of wandered over and I was looking at it, and I thought about a couple aspects of it. One is, it's really a shame that, like, face-to-face multiplayer is kind of going the way of the dodo because of, the online multiplayer experience, because especially sports games, there is no better time to talk shit to somebody than when you're sitting on the couch with them.
You know what? I will say this, and I know you haven't played it. Well, you probably haven't played it, but Rocket League has something to say to you.
Absolutely, yeah. Rocket League is like the couch co-op game of the year.
Fucking, I'll tell you what. My wife and I sit down a couple times a week. We couch co-op Rocket League, and that is some of the absolute best couch co-op I have had in fucking years.
Yeah.
And
that's great. And like I said, couch co-op I'm all about, but even couch competition, you know what I mean? Like, the only time I remember really enjoying playing Madden was when I was in college and we had like a 15-man league, and you knew you were going to play like against a real human being that you sat down on the couch with, that day and talked smack to him. And that was the fun part of it. But I looked at Madden now and I'm like, it's the same game every year. There's like, we talked about this annualization. Madden, and I really think all sports games in general are probably the biggest culprits of this, is the whole, hey, it's the new year, so here's like one new feature and an updated roster. Here, hopefully you'll take our $60.
Though, I don't know. That to me, there's sports every year. Every year there's there's an NFL season. Every year there's Major League Baseball season, and that's just the way it is. Sports games to me, annualization of sports games really isn't. It's not that big of a deal to me. When it becomes a problem for me, and I know Brandon will agree with me on this, is when games like NHL 15 cut out fucking half. Yeah. Don't even get me started on that game.
Generational leap.
Yeah, exactly. NHL 15 cut out everything that made NHL 14 great, and it shipped as a fucking skeleton of the game it should have been.
Yo, what was that? What was that? The golf game that they just shipped? Rory McIlroy PGA Tour or something like that?
I don't know, man.
I heard that game is missing like all of its features from the last gen Tiger Woods.
I don't know, dude. Golf to me is like golf is my Ambien, so I have no fucking idea. I don't.
Yeah. I don't follow it either. I just heard. It's a great band.
If I want to take a fucking nap, I put on golf. If I can't sleep, I'm like, man, I'll just put on some fucking golf and I pass right out.
That was the last place Tiger Woods to win anything, and now it's gone too. That's just terrible.
No, but to your point, Brian, I don't, I think annualization of titles are a bad thing, and I think it would do games like Assassin's Creed a world of good to take a year or two off. But then again, I don't know. Then again, I'm kind of a hypocrite. I would kill for a Dark Souls game every year. So
we're pretty much getting that.
We're close.
Dark Souls 3 comes out next year. Bloodborne.
We really are close. Dark Souls 2 came out in 2014, last year, and then you had the Bloodborne and the remaster this year, and then you had Dark Souls 3 next year.
Yeah.
Which kind of concerns me. It seems like it's a little fast.
I'll keep upping out the quality.
And that's the thing is Miyazaki says, hey, I was doing Bloodborne, but I was doing Dark Souls 3 at the same time, and as long as he's involved, it's not the fucking Dark Souls 2 B team. I'm okay with that. But games like Call of Duty and Assassin's Creed, take a fucking break. Give me something new. It's Assassin's Creed Syndicate, okay. I really like the whole industrial 1800s London, Victorian setting. That's appealing to me, but I don't know. It's not a game change. It's the same damn game.
It doesn't look like they're doing anything with it.
I got it. Assassin's Creed MMO. You get to pick which faction you want to support, and you basically go on missions to kill each other. Perfect.
That's actually probably the best idea I've heard for that.
And that's the sad part. It's the best idea I've heard for Assassin's Creed in years, and it's a terrible
anything is the best idea, really. anything.
That is literally the best idea I've heard for Assassin's Creed ever, and I want to slap you in the face for it.
because you know yeah, that's what I'm saying. You're all talking shit about it now, but let's be real, y'all would at least try it.
Well, I know Steve would.
But I don't know.
MMO guy. You and Steve both are the MMO junkies.
Yeah.
Steve has been trying to get me to sink my teeth into Final Fantasy 14, and every time I go and I play it for like an hour, and I'm like, I can't do this. And I love Final Fantasy. I fucking love it. I've played every single one, but I run around that town and Steve, you and I, yes, Magitech. Steve, you and I had this fucking conversation just last week. I was like, I've got the fucking guildmaster telling me, you are our last hope, and you are ready to advance in the guild. Your final challenge is to go kill 5 fucking sheep.
Can you suplex a train in Final Fantasy 14?
What's that?
Can you suplex a train in Final Fantasy 14?
You can't actually. You can't.
Well, why would you play it over Final Fantasy 6?
Exactly. I think that may be my favorite moment in a game ever.
Why would you be playing 14 when you can just be suplexing trains in 6?
I try to get my wife to play 6, and my wife's a gamer just like me. I try to get her to play 6, and I downloaded it on my Vita, and I says, "Oh, this is a fucking classic game. You have to play this. Everybody has to play this." And she picks it up, she fires it up, and she says, "Oh, it's so ugly." And dude, I wanted to kick the beat out of her hand. I wanted to take that beat from her and say, you know what? Forget it. You can't appreciate this shit. Okay, I was weaned on this.
That's almost the equivalent of like looking at a picture of like a hot chick from the 1940s and being like, oh, she's ugly. It's like, no, because she's wearing clothing from the 1940s, she would look ugly now. But that's still a hot chick. Don't you dare talk about my hot chick. Final Fantasy VI is my hot chick from the 40s. That's what it is.
Dude, that's maybe the best analogy I've heard in months. I like that.
It's up there.
Final Fantasy VI is one of those games, and honestly, like that was, in my opinion, and Brandon's gonna scream when I say this, but that was the last true great Final Fantasy game for me.
Yeah, you'll get flack for that. But
I'm screaming internally.
I know you are. Right now, Brandon wants to fucking impale me with Cloud's Buster Sword, but Final Fantasy VI for me, I really can't even put my finger on what it was. I don't know if it was the story or the characterization, the battle system is it's so simple, but it's so fucking addictive. That game to me, for me, was probably the story. That was really the first game where that was like the first moment where I looked at a game and I thought to myself, okay, this is some pretty next level shit. There's a story that I'm invested in. There are characters that I care about, and it's all leading towards something, And so I think that was, if I had to pick one game that was my kind of, I guess, my formative moment as a gamer, it would have to be Final Fantasy VI. That or Chrono Trigger. Probably Final Fantasy VI first, but yeah, and I think it's that game that came along at the right time for me, because before Final Fantasy VI, yeah, I played video games, but I didn't look at them as anything more than a fun, delightful little diversion. Like, oh, cool. I'll hop on fucking, whatever, and I'll do whatever, and that's fine. But Final Fantasy VI came along. Well, it was 3 when it came to the States on the Super Nintendo, and that came along, and I don't know, it just kind of changed everything for me, And but I think every gamer has that kind of pivotal moment, in their, especially for guys like us who came up in that generation, came up with the Super Nintendo and the Genesis and and then the PlayStation 1. Those. That, in my opinion, those were. Don't get me wrong. The eighth generation, the one we're in now, it's great. But that to me was really kind of the golden age. I'm getting nostalgic now.
Yeah, and that's what leads you to play the next title in the Final Fantasy series. That's what 14 and arguably 13 is just reliant on the nostalgia of the series. The music, the battle systems, they play around with, but music's always good. And if you have a good villain, it tends to make a good story, and if you have to kill 5 sheep to get that done, then you got to do it.
I'll probably get some flack for this, but I will be honest. Don't get me wrong, I love 6. 6 is great. But actually, to be fair, my favorite of the 16-bit era is actually Final Fantasy IV.
I'm not going to use flack for that at all.
And the reason being,
people love 4. Yeah.
Well, there's nothing wrong with 6, but here's the only thing I don't like about 6 is that, like, halfway through, everybody becomes a magician, and everybody can learn every spell, and everybody can learn Ultima, and everybody can do the same thing, and it's kind of like...
Yeah.
What made the characters distinct early in the game, like the reason you love Sabin for his blitzes, you love Cyan for his Sortex, all of it just immediately gets kind of shoved out of the way and goes, everybody can cast Ultima, so there's no reason to really do anything else.
I'm not gonna lie. I did that shit. I did that.
And everybody does, at least the first bit. There's nothing wrong with that. But like with 4, I mean, yes, people kind of joke, oh, the class system is stupid and rigid, but I'm like, the class system kind of teaches you to think tactically. And I would say the closest like modern equivalent of that was Final Fantasy X, because everybody starts off on their sphere grid in their specific what they're good at. Yuna's a white mage, Lulu's a black mage, blah 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 blah. But you can also customize them so that like you can make Yuna a fighter if you really really want to. But you have to work to make that kind of thing work. And I like that idea of utilizing your characters tactically to defeat certain enemies, matching enemies to different types. I just felt like it's a more tactical gameplay and it's more interesting to me.
You know what? Ironically enough, and Brandon and Steve and I have had this conversation, but I found that the battle system in Final Fantasy 13, it was a low point for the series, the game itself, but that battle system was fucking mint. That was the absolute greatest battle system in any Final Fantasy game, period, and I will challenge any man who says otherwise to a physical confrontation. I'm a pretty big guy.
Well, since I'm getting out my incendiary comments, since we're back on Dark Souls, look, I completely get the appeal of these games. I get the appeal of a game that, like, essentially, it's the equivalent of, like, learning martial arts by going into a dojo and having a sensei just kick you in the balls repeatedly. And, like, you learn by, like, not getting hit in the balls as often. I get that that's the game they wanted to create. I'm totally cool with that. But here's the thing, right? I don't mind necessarily getting racked by enemies that are bigger than me, but the fact that like there's no map, there's nowhere to go, and the problem is it's like they really seriously expected people to go, I don't know where I'm going. I'm just going to wander around for a while. Who the fuck is actually doing that? Everybody got on GameFAQs.com and looked up a guide and said, I need to go here next.
No. That's actually what on Bloodborne, dude. I just walked into the world. And I same thing with Dark Souls and Dark Souls 2. Those are games I refuse to use fucking guides for because that defeats
Bloodborne was easy to figure out where to go next. Easier than Dark Souls 1.
It was easier than Dark Souls, and which is why Bloodborne reminded me more of Demon Souls, to be honest with you, than Dark Souls. But Dark Souls is one of those games where that first bonfire you start off at. If you walk forward, you walk into an area immediately where enemies will just kill you immediately.
Yeah.
And I remember it's those fucking skeletons in the graveyard, and I walked there.
You got me so many times.
I did that about 10 times before I realized, oh shit, you know what? Maybe I was supposed to go the other way. and the Souls
cuts
game.
your health in half.
But I love that, like, because there is nothing as gratifying as downing a Souls boss after 20. Like when I first beat fucking Ornstein and Smough. Like the feeling of fucking, I leapt off my couch, I threw my fucking controller. It took me 3 weeks to beat those guys over and over and over.
It took me like 2 days, but I was playing the PC version and I summoned somebody in. I'm sure they played the game before. I didn't do it by myself.
I summoned people. I did it solo. I couldn't fucking do it, and then 2 or 3 weeks later, I finally fucking did it, dude. And
it probably took me 20 tries.
Dude, it took me weeks. Those 2 motherfuckers, I will never forget it. And but it is such a those game, but that's kind of the whole point of the Soul series. It's that risk reward thing that is just so appealing to me.
Yeah, and I'm not necessarily, like I said, I'm not knocking the games for what they chose to do, because at least they were upfront about it. Like nobody ever released a Dark Souls review that said, "Come play this game. It's like really easy." It was never misleading about what it was. It's just, I know for me, like difficulty, I don't mind difficulty. Okay, I'm the kind of person, I beat Mass Effect 2 on Insanity. I beat Mass Effect 1 on Insanity. Okay, with all the balancing issues and crap that you have to deal with on that game, but those games, at least, I knew where to go. I knew what to do next. It was a lot easier to at least kind of figure out. And the difficulty came in the actual, okay, this is the next thing, so go do it. I just, like, for me personally, that's why there will always be a segment of the gaming population that Dark Souls won't appeal to. That's not saying it's bad. It's just saying is very rarely are you going to find a game that captures every niche imaginable.
I do like that the game isn't spoon-fed. Like, you do wander around, and it's been a while since there are games that make you do that.
Sure.
And John and I play, but I won't run around that game by myself because it's just fucking painful. Like, I'm not a masochist. I don't want to just die and die and die and, like, find out, oh, there's a guy around that corner. Like, screw that. I'll play with John.
So at some point you like to stop getting hit in the balls.
I told Steve.
I bring my, like, older brother who, like, knows jiu-jitsu to go to the dojo and just ruin this guy.
I actually told Steve that I got my platinum trophy in Bloodborne, and he kind of looked at me as though I just told him I was a sadomasochist.
It's just a time investment.
Yeah, well, no, dude, I have literally sunk over I have 3 characters in Bloodborne. I have sunk over 200 hours into that game.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't take long to, like, master it.
It doesn't. But I'll tell you what, to this day, I'll still play. I'll get out and I'll play PvP, and to this day, that game still makes me fucking scream with rage. But in a good way.
PvP is a higher skill ceiling, but I mean, like, the single player.
The single player game, I actually recommended to Steve that I was like, Steve, you got to pick up Bloodborne, and he did, and he will not play it without me. Steve, fucking man up, grab your nutsack, remind yourself that it's there, and go kill fucking Vicar Amelia without me. Okay.
It's a lonely game. You just wander around and get killed. I don't want to spend my night like that. Like living in Detroit.
If you don't have any Souls experience, jumping into Bloodborne is like it's like getting your head slammed in a car door by a robot made out of fucking colostomy bags. Like that's how fucking hard that game is.
That's a deeply specific and yet a wholly disgusting image. Thank you.
It really is. It really.
Everyone can relate to.
I feel like I have to get drunk to erase that memory. Like,
was it too far? Was it too much? A robot made of colostomy bags?
A little bit.
Okay, that's fine.
But
it's actually in the Metacritic review.
You know, kind of funny though. Talking about like the platinum trophies and things, because you kind of hit on this, and kind of bringing the idea, because you talk about playing MMORPGs. That's actually one of the, at least in my opinion, that's always been one of the main appeals of an MMO, is that you wear your achievements like on your character, you know, whether it's in actual achievements, whether it's in titles, whether it's in equipment, whether it's in whatever. Because what used to be is, and not so much now because unfortunately the games have kind of gotten away from this, but it used to be like, you know, you would walk around, like World of Warcraft, like if you walked around and you had, you know, you were full racked out Naxxramas gear in like vanilla, people would look at you and be like, oh my god, you're the fucking man.
You've been through some shit.
Right, like you've seen some things, man.
Shit, man. But did you not?
Yeah, but I mean that was one of the major appeals to it, was you bashed your head against the boss for 250, 300 pulls because you wanted to like have that title, you wanted to have that gear, you wanted to have your full racked out tier 3 that, you know, nobody else will ever see, and all you plebs just suck ass. But
that's what Destiny is now.
Yeah, but that's why I brought it up, because Destiny really is kind of creating that for the console player, is like this idea of that MMO experience where you can kind of wear those achievements like badges of honor, and I think that's going to actually become something that is going to be very popular moving forward, and that's why I think. Yeah, but that's why I think, like, you know, people knock the game for, you know, little bits here and there, but, you know, I think it's because they knocked him because, oh, well, you're missing bells and whistles. But they created a frame that was stable, and that's critical.
You know, that is the fucking point I've made multiple times, is that Destiny, as it exists now, I'm not interested in. But I've invested a lot of time into that game, and the skeleton of a fucking masterpiece is there. All you need to do is put fucking meat on it. You just need to robe it in flesh and see what happens. And so far, they haven't done that. I have a lot of hope that the Taken King, you know, what's it called, the Taken King?
Yeah.
Coming out. I have a lot of hope that is going to fix a lot of the wrongs of the series, because I've said it before and I'll say it again. I'm a huge Borderlands guy, and I really, really think Bungie has something. They're on the cusp of something really special there, but it's just taken them a fucking year to get there.
Have you played Tales from the Borderlands?
I have. It's fucking glorious.
Yeah, it's so good.
It is. Steve, have you played Tales from the Borderlands?
I haven't.
Okay, it's like, all right, so you know those Telltale games, like, you know, The Walking Dead, Game of Thrones?
Sure.
Yeah, so basically it's just like that, but it's set in the Borderlands universe, and it's got that fucking really ridiculous, you know, gross sense of humor that the Borderlands games have, and it tells. I mean, but I'll tell you what, though, man, there's a really good story there, and I mean, to be totally honest with you, that is, Tales from the Borderlands is one of my favorite games this year.
It is. Yeah, definitely.
It's fucking great, and I would love to see a season 2. But
Talk about games that personify the idea that storyline can be a driving factor in video games. Like, those are just the best examples of that. Because there's, like, no action whatsoever. It's strictly on, oh my god, I don't want to choose who dies.
Well, and that's why Until Dawn, in my opinion, is such a rousing success. Because it much like, and I'm going to use a comparison here that's you'll probably think is weird, but just kind of bear with me. It's very much like Dishonored to me, in the sense that it takes choice and puts it back in the hands of the player. And there are so many different outcomes in Dishonored, just like there are in Until Dawn. In Dishonored, you can choose to take a target this way. You can kill him directly. You could have him set with the fucking mines. You can poison his fucking drink. In Until Dawn, there are so many different outcomes and so many choices to make. People knock the game for, there's not any gameplay, but that's a bullshit argument. I mean, there's absolutely fucking gameplay. It's 10 hours of you telling a fucking story, and that to me is why Until Dawn is. I mean, in my mind, it is. And Brandon and I have mentioned this before. It's to me, it's the sleeper hit of the year, and it does exactly what you just said. It tells an amazing story, but it's not even really the game telling the story, it's you telling the story. And that is also what makes games like The Walking Dead and Tales of the Borderlands so fucking compelling to me.
And it also explains why everybody hated the ending for Mass Effect 3.
Oh god, that was a whole. I remember that.
Well, what I mean by that is, if you're going to create a game where your whole premise is the choices you make have repercussions down the road, and be careful the choices you make because it'll matter down the road, when you get to the end of the road, your choices had better matter. If they don't matter, people are not going to be happy, and that's exactly what they ended up with.
Well, the thing BioWare even said, like, well before the end of the series, they were talking about how it was, your culmination of all your choices wasn't just going to result in an ABC ending,
and then
that's exactly what it was.
Yeah, it's like way to say something and then completely do what you said you weren't going to do.
Okay, so all right, you're gonna have to educate me. I finished Mass Effect 1. I finished Mass Effect 2. I never finished 3 because something else came out at the same time, and I was like, okay, I can't not play this, and I never really got back into Mass Effect 3. And I know there was this whole controversy about the ending, and people complained, and then BioWare actually said, okay, you know what? Enough people have bitched about it. We will change the ending, and we will add something. We'll take, and there, it's fixed. It's done. What was the actual problem with the ending? And fucking spoiler alert for anybody who hasn't played Mass Effect 3. So if you haven't, go ahead and mute it. But what actually happened? Like, what was the deal?
Well, the biggest problem is that when you get to the end, you're essentially, first off, since you played the so you got the child who gets killed at the beginning. Okay, he's like he ends up becoming like the personification of the catalyst. He's like the ghost child or whatever you see in your dreams. And you get to the end, and you're basically given 3 A, B, or C choices. It's literally destroy all the Reapers, and you destroy all synthetics in the universe. Do synthesis and like merge all the synthetic and organic life, or take control of the Reapers, which is supposedly the bad ending, but when you think about it, everybody lives, so it's not really that bad of an ending. But it was literally 3 all-encompassing endings, and the ending cutscenes were literally just an Instagram swap. So like, if you chose to control ending, everything was blue. If you chose synthesis, everything was green. If you chose destroy, everything was red. BioWare did eventually come back and do like a director's cut, where each of the endings got some more like backstory and exposition, like narrated by one of the characters, but it still just ended up being very much an A, B, and C kind of ending. I think that's mainly it.
I enjoyed the user outrage for that. I like the theories regarding like, well, what does this mean? What does this mean? Or maybe they meant this. I thought it was awesome.
Well, and that kind of raises a really interesting point for me, which is why I asked you to explain it. I like I said, I never finished. I played about half of it. I never got back to finishing it, but I know about the user outrage meetings, and I know that BioWare said, okay, we'll change it. What do you guys think about that? Is that a good thing or is that a bad thing? Do you think BioWare should have changed it, or do you think they should have said, you know what, we told the story we were trying to tell, and we did the ending that we wanted to make in the fashion we wanted to make it. I'm sorry if you don't like it, but that's the way we chose to do it.
I think it's good that they conceded to the user base with the users going crazy, which is great, by the way, holding them accountable. They had to go into damage control mode, and whatever they do after that point is largely unimportant, but it does mean that people have an impact on how they develop the games. And hopefully the same thing can happen in like microtransactions and some other stuff. When things don't go our way, I like that they can affect the change.
Yeah. Based on the director's cut that they did, it wasn't necessarily that I thought the effort they put into it was bad, because they did try to kind of make your choices. They tried to reflect your choices in some like cutscenes, like some like still images later to kind of like illustrate, hey, you chose to spare Serana's daughter, so here she is alive, and isn't everything happy? The real problem is that none of the actual choices felt like there wasn't a like Paragon choice, there wasn't a Renegade choice, there wasn't even like a neutral choice. Like all the choices just kind of felt completely the same. But I think the biggest knock on the whole kind of setup is that those individual choices that you made, like you were building all this military strength for this final battle with the Reapers, and like you never have that battle.
It never really happens, right?
Right. You don't have that battle. You don't bring all your forces to bear and like duke it out. You do have a fourth option where you can just basically tell the Godchild to go screw himself and like shoot him in the face with a gun. But that just means that the Reapers kill everybody, so it's not really that fun.
That's what I would have done.
Yeah. But yeah, as far as but getting back to his point regarding the fact that BioWare listened and did make a change, that is huge because basically they chose not to ignore it.
I don't know. I've got mixed feelings on that. I mean, on one point, you know what? I'm kind of with Steve in the sense that I think it's good that the user base spoke up. Because it means that, and if I was a developer, like let's say I'm one of the guys at BioWare, that tells me that the community has a very real, visceral connection emotionally to the story that we're trying to tell, and they're invested in it, and they value it. At the same time, I don't know. I mean, it's me, and this is just me being who I am. Had I been one of the guys at BioWare, I would have said, look, I told the story I came to tell. I'm sorry if you didn't like it, but this is the way that I wanted it to end. This is the way I feel like it needs to end, and you are free to interpret it as you will. But that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. I guess is kind of the best way I could possibly say it. And so I don't know. Like I don't know. That's just me. That's just me.
I will throw this out there though. For those that haven't got to check it out, if you go to YouTube, look up the indoctrination theory.
I haven't seen it yet. That's awesome.
Fantastic.
Yeah,
like this whole. I mean, the idea that like Shepard is slowly. Yeah, but the idea that Shepard's been slowly indoctrinated and that the final choices reflect like they're trying to discourage him away from destruction and towards control and all this stuff. It's a really good. I do recommend anybody who's listening, please check it out. It's really, really good.
Didn't they indoctrinate the elusive man at the end?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I thought. You don't actually fight him though, right? You just kind of.
You can have a renegade option to like shoot him. So there's that.
I'm kind of glad they didn't do that. You turn him into some giant fucking monstrosity and you have him run around while you hide behind something and shoot him. I don't know. That to me would have been kind of anticlimactic. That doesn't fit the elusive man.
This isn't Resident Evil.
Don't Resident Evil is still a sore spot for me. That fucking series.
But you can't deny that like that's like half the bosses you always end up with is like some guy injects himself with a syringe and suddenly
that's
the final boss of Leon's campaign in Resident Evil 6. That guy has like 7 different forms.
And you know what the best part is that one of them is a fucking Tyrannosaurus Rex.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
You know what? That is the moment because Leon's campaign is the only campaign I made it through in Resident Evil 6, and that was the moment when fucking Derek Simmons injects himself with a virus and he turns into a skinless T-Rex. Literally, yep. I was like, I paused the game, I put the controller down. I was like, I have so many fucking emotions right now, and I can't begin to describe the fact. And I remember tweeting, or not tweeting, but maybe I did tweet it. But I said I am fighting a goddamn T-Rex in Resident Evil, and that was the moment where they didn't just jump the shark. Like they took the shark and they put it into a fucking rocket and they shot it. They shot it in orbit. No. And oh god, Resident Evil 6. It had just been Leon's campaign, and they got rid of that goddamn co-op. It would have been great. In my opinion.
It would have been okay. It would have been awful. Wait, hold on, no. Watch it yourself there. It wouldn't have been great. It would have been Leon's campaign. It's not that good.
But you know what? That's what Resident Evil...
felt like goodbye.
It really did. It really did. But you know what?
It doesn't have any good set pieces. It doesn't have any good boss fights. It doesn't have any good QTE sequence. They're all terrible. You remember the QTE sequence where you have to, like, dig through the dashboard to
start the car.
Yeah.
For if you guys haven't played Resident Evil 6, there's a sequence in Leon's campaign where you literally, it's a QTE sequence, and you're starting a fucking car, and it's like hit L2 to look under the fucking mirror for the keys.
Yeah, you have
Hit, hit R2 to grab the keys. Hit the left on the joystick to put the keys into the. And I was like, holy shit, dude, why isn't this just
bad? It's really bad.
Where can I hit the button to skip the goddamn cutscene? Because I don't care.
Yeah, it's about as bad as it gets.
The first time a cutscene, or I'm sorry, not a cutscene. The first time a QTE really made me go cross-eyed was in God of War when you're just banging chicks left and right, and it's like, and it's like, okay, you jiggled the joystick back and forth, and I was like, this feels
yeah, I just beat God of War 3 remastered it like a month ago. It felt pretty wrong.
Yeah, that part when you walk in and Aphrodite's on the bed and then he crawls on top of her and it pans off to those two girls who are getting all turned on by it. And then it's like, and then it says wiggle the joystick as fast as you can, and I'm doing it with my thumb, and I'm just like, oh god, no, I can't fucking take.
You get a trophy for it.
You really do too. Yeah. Do you remember the name of the trophy?
I don't care.
I don't fucking remember.
But the QTE events, I mean, I get what their idea was at first, but really all it's done is made it so that I can't zone out during a cutscene. And that's kind of gotten annoying, because all I'm thinking to myself is, oh, good, a cutscene. Let me go get something to drink, let me go put my controller down, and oh no, look, I'm dead anyway because I didn't hit Q at the appropriate moment,
You might actually hate until dawn.
If it's like the order, you can just sit there and nothing will happen ever.
Well, no, what I was going to say is with like the Telltale games, like Until Dawn and stuff, you're basically playing one long cutscene. Like, that's the whole essence of the story. So that's, at that point, I don't mind it because I'm engrossed in the story, but let's be honest, there's points in like Resident Evil 4 was really guilty of this. It was, Krauser is jumping at you with a knife, hit this button. It's like, can I actually fight him instead? Like, I don't know, play a game like I came here to do, and said, no, I need to hit Q, otherwise he just stabs me.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, with a knife fight with those game mechanics with Krauser, Like,
yeah.
That was one of the most irritating parts of that game for me, was the knife fight with Krauser. I fucking hated that. That so and trying to run away
like, the camera angles are so good.
Yeah.
It's like, it would have actually fun.
It would have worked much better had it just been like, okay, I'm just gonna attack him. Hit R2 to attack Krauser. Like, I would have been fine with that. It's like, I don't know. Don't get me wrong.
Resident Evil 4 boring ass boss fight.
Well, I mean, at the same time though, I'm like, was that even necessary? I mean, there's an actual boss fight against Krauser where he grows that fucking tyrant arm, and you gotta run, which is a really annoying boss fight, by the way.
Well, they just wanted to have like a cool looking cutscene with like Matrix slow mo.
Yeah.
That was back when Matrix slow-mo was cool in games.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I look at it this way. Once you have quick time events in like a fighting game like Mortal Kombat X, I feel like you've kind of ran it into the ground a little bit. I mean, like the entire campaign is like quick time event, okay, now you actually fight. Like,
hey, I have a rule, dude. I have a rule. It's Mortal Kombat 10 when I'm around. Don't call it Mortal Kombat X.
Whatever.
I refuse to call it.
I look at it this. It's Mortal Kombat, but Shao Kahn's not in it anymore, so I'm really disinclined to care.
It's the sequel to Mortal Kombat 9.
It is, yeah.
So it's Mortal Kombat 10.
No. It's Mortal Kombat X, guys. Come on. It's fucking 90s, but
like calling it Final Fantasy X.
I find it really weird that in the game, like, you have like Johnny Cage's daughter and Jax's daughter, and then like they can do fatalities on each other, and I'm like, that's kind of weird.
How old are they in the game?
They're like in their 20s.
They're like in their, early 20s, and I swear Johnny Cage and Sonya haven't aged a day. But I actually really, really like Mortal Kombat 10. I'm a big fan of it. The Predator is fucking awesome, by the way.
Yeah.
But they actually just said there's more. I don't know if you guys saw this earlier this week, but there's more DLC characters coming for Mortal Kombat 10 early next year. And I guarantee you we get Baraka, and I guarantee you we get what's his name? Fucking Shang Tsung. Guarantee it.
Well, and it seemed really stupid that Baraka wasn't in the initial Mortal Kombat 10.
He's in the game. He's fucking
but that's what I'm saying. He's in the main campaign. You do kill him. But Melina's in the main campaign too, and she dies. So why isn't Baraka playable?
I don't know. Maybe they were just kind of. I mean, a lot of those new characters are really cool. Ferrator is really cool. Actually, Cassie Cage is one of the best characters in the game. I'm a Reptile guy, so I fucking stick with Reptile. I'll wreck your shit with Reptile. But I thought Mortal Kombat, and you know what, Mortal Kombat 9 and Mortal Kombat 10 both really impressed me, and that is how a fighting game should do a story. Because Mortal Kombat 9 especially was fucking innovative.
Yeah.
And that was the breath of fresh air that franchise desperately fucking needed.
Well, I think it's cool to create a fighting game, but then also have a canon story to go along with it. You know what I mean? Where it was like Mortal Kombat 1, 2, and 3, 4 going all the way through. I mean, you kind of had canon stories like in the character bios, but you really didn't know like how the tournaments actually went through. Whereas Mortal Kombat 9, Mortal Kombat 10, you play through the campaign and you're like, okay, this is what happened. That's why this character's gone. That why this character's here. You know what I mean? Like, it gives you a lot of framework for the fighting game, which is actually pretty cool.
Are you saying you want a Mortal Kombat Extreme Beach Volleyball spinoff where they all the characters get transported to private island?
I actually want a Mortal Kombat MMO, and
oh my God, please stop. I'll tell you what. You could take them on. You could take what was it called? Mortal Kombat Mythologies Sub-Zero.
Yeah.
You could totally turn that into an MMO, or just like do like the one big fucking outworld and just have everybody run around and kick each other.
There was one of those with Jax.
Well, what was the
PS1?
Like the conquest mode in what was it? Not the one after Deadly Alliance. Deception. Yeah. Deception, but like you're Shujinko and you're like running around and you like have to fight all these random people to get powerful and whatever.
Yeah. It's just a shame that you were Shujinko, because he was one of the worst characters in the entire series.
Yeah, like Cassie Cage like hunts him down and kills him in her arcade ending too, which I
heard about. Yeah, I haven't finished it with Cassie Cage, but I did hear about that actually. That's pretty cool. I fucking hated him. I thought the Conquest mode is alright, but Mortal Kombat 9 did so much right in regards to its story. And I thought the cool thing about it was that it was Mortal Kombat 1, 2, and 3. It went through all 3 games.
Yeah, retelling.
I fucking loved it. I loved it.
And they kind of broke away from the very, like, let's be honest, I mean, how many times can Shao Kahn be the one to, like, challenge, to take over Earthrealm kind of thing? So by actually getting rid of him, they opened it up more because you now have Kotal Kahn from Outworld, who is still now a threat. You have the NetherRealm with Liu Kang leading it, which is not interesting. And now, apparently, Raiden... Oh, speaking of crazy, like, indoctrination theory levels of conspiracy, if you look up the Raiden is possessed theory, the idea is that, like, when Raiden, like, severs Shinnok's head, like, Shinnok, like, transfers his soul into Raiden, so Raiden's all, like, dark and sinister now. But, like, if you look at the cutscene, if you look at the head rolling around, it's got, like, the golden swirl in the eyes, which is the same swirl that you see in Raiden's eyes before. So, again, fun conspiracy theory. If anybody wants to check that out, it's on YouTube.
Well, I mean, I have no... I mean, the way that Mortal Kombat 10 sold, I think it's one of the highest-selling fighting games of all time. I have no doubt we'll get a sequel. No doubt.
Sure.
Of course.
And I don't know. I've got high hopes for it. I don't think we're going to see it anytime soon.
They might do like another Injustice type thing.
I would be okay with that. I really want to see them do. I would love to see them do an Injustice type game with Marvel characters, because I'm a huge Marvel fan. And dude, that's another thing is Marvel has not gotten their due in the gaming world at all, with the exception of the Marvel Alliance games or the Ultimate Alliance games.
Yeah.
And obviously Marvel vs. Capcom.
Yes, exactly. But I don't think we're getting like I actually tried to download that on my Vita, and you can't. You
oh
can't,
really?
Yeah, you can't download it anymore.
I have the physical disc for it.
I want it so bad. I'm sure I could find the disc used, or not the disc, but the card used, but you actually cannot download it.
Whatever the hell it was, yeah.
I guess Capcom yanked it because some copyright thing. I guess Marvel and Capcom had a falling out. So you
it was just a license expiration.
Or that's what it was.
Really falling out. It was a natural expiration of the.
You're right. It was a license thing, but you can't download it anymore. And I really, granted the fucking Sentinel was overpowered as fuck, but I really, really love that game.
Marvel's really stingy about their contracts, because so with Activision, their Deadpool one ran out after like a year, and they had to renew it to get this PS4, Xbox One version they're doing.
Yeah, and you know what the ironic thing is that Deadpool is a shitty game. It's terrible.
There's a movie coming out.
Yeah, I love the movie. I hope I love the movie. I love Deadpool. He's my favorite Marvel character. But the game was terrible. Really, the only two. Aside from Marvel vs. Capcom, the only two real good Marvel games were Marvel Ultimate Alliance and Spider-Man: Shattered Dimensions. Shattered Dimensions.
That Wolverine game was good too.
I don't. Is that the one you were talking about? The one based on the movie?
It's based on the movie, but it's got nothing to do with the movie, which is probably why it's good.
Yeah, it's like it's a God of War clone essentially.
I actually did hear pretty decent things about that game.
It's so good. Like Raven did a really good job with it.
Yeah. But I don't know. Like, I know that Deadpool's in the game. Is he wearing a suit or is he that stupid fucking Baraka clone from the movie?
He's the Baraka clone.
See, I couldn't play it then.
He's the final boss, obviously. Yeah.
I would get to him and I'd be like, I can't do this. I can't.
It was terrible. It's a terrible boss fight. It's a terrible way to end the game. Yeah.
Really? Good.
Well, you don't even know. I didn't even know it was Deadpool.
Well, and that's the thing. The only way I knew he was Deadpool in the movie is because he says, "Oh, he's the Deadpool," and I was like,
"Yeah."
No,
he just like made up some random bullshit character. I don't know. That movie was garbage.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what though. Kind of veering off of games here for a minute. I don't know if you guys have seen the trailer for Deadpool. Holy shit! Oh my god, dude, this is
do anything for me.
They are doing everything right. It is one of the most. It was one of the most accurate comic book depictions I have ever seen. It's insane.
I know some people don't like. There's two different writers for Deadpool.
Well, it's being directed by a fucking special effects artist, which kind of worried me at first. But once I actually saw the trailer, dude, I'm perfectly okay.
I've seen some people say with Deadpool, like in the comics, there's two very different versions of Deadpool depending on which author is writing it. And like so, one of the authors does like the super crazy, zany, like meme version, fourth wall breaking version that people love, and then the other one is like the original version is like the more serious, darker version of the character.
Yeah, I far prefer the former. Deadpool's at his best.
Most people do. That's the version most people know, and that's the one that's going to get people to go to the theaters. Yeah.
Exactly. And from what I've heard, Ryan Reynolds will actually break the fourth wall and constantly talk to the audience.
I'm sure he will. Many times.
Well, and the other cool thing I've heard is that he has his mask on for 85% of the movie, which is another thing I worry about, is that the studio was like, you got to take the mask off so people know it's Ryan Reynolds. And
they do it in every movie way too much.
Well, it's like Spider-Man. It's like, okay, dude, I get it. It's Tobey Maguire. I understand that Tobey Maguire is underneath the mask. I get that. Please stop fucking taking off his mask in ridiculous situations. It doesn't make. It's like for Spider-Man 3, which was a terrible fucking movie to begin with. That movie, Venom was the least of that movie's problems. But when fucking Eddie Brock got the Venom suit on, they were constantly peeling off his face and like, hey, in case you guys forgot, it's Topher Grace. And I'm like, holy shit.
It helps, if like the character's main personality is actually more interesting. Like, so Batman has Bruce Wayne. Like, when Bruce Wayne is on the screen, like, you care. When Peter Parker is on the screen, like, I just, you're like, okay, when is he going to be Spider-Man?
I don't know what you guys are talking about. That scene where Tobey Maguire is like walking down the street to like gyrating at women is just the best scene ever. I don't know what you guys are talking about.
That famous scene in the third one.
That shit is hilarious.
I had no idea that the symbiote suit made you turn into a fucking emo goth.
Man, what happened with that movie?
Well, you know what? The
first two are pretty good.
It kind of got summed up in that one part when he's walking by the mirror and he stops. He's got like the Venom suit on underneath his shirt.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, he just reaches up and brushes his hair down in front of his eye, and I was like, why? Like what?
Yeah, that movie was weird.
That movie was so. Well, you know why? Because Sam Raimi he did not want Venom in the movie. He was like, I don't want Venom. The original villains were Sandman and the Vulture, and they had actually cast Ben Kingsley as the Vulture.
Gotcha.
And they had like production artwork and everything, and then Avi Arad said, no, we want Venom. And Sam Raimi said, I think Venom is a stupid fucking character. I don't want Venom. And the studio said, well, I tell you what, either you put Venom in the movie or we're going to pull funding for the movie. And he fucking shoehorned Venom in, and it clearly shows. It clearly shows, and we're never going to really get a good Venom, because now the rights have gone back to Marvel and they're going to redo the whole thing, and which I'm fine with. I'm actually cool with that. I like the Andrew Garfield movies. I don't understand why people didn't. I thought they were great.
I've never even seen them.
I thought they were great. I don't get the fucking hullabaloo. I really don't.
Are they any better or worse than the Tobey Maguire ones?
I don't know. I thought they were, from a villain standpoint, no, because Dr. Octopus is still the best fucking Spider-Man villain on screen. But Andrew Garfield, and I think Brian and Steve, if you guys have seen the movie, you'll probably agree, he was a much better Spider-Man.
Absolutely.
He was.
Yeah.
Just from watching the trailers, I can tell that.
I had issues with some of the liberties they took with the origin story, like this idea that Parker's parents were like, his dad was like this top secret director for Oscorp, and
Oh God!
like,
Wow, that's
yeah.
terrible. I didn't know that. That's
Well, and then also the worst thing I didn't like is I did love the fact that they were like, we're not going to focus on Mary Jane Watson. Yes, thank you, because believe it or not, Peter Parker's dated other women.
Yeah.
So we're gonna focus on Jane Watson. Cool. And then, but the thing is, the way they killed her in the movie was very cheap, and it was like, oh crap, we forgot to kill her off. Okay, let's kill her off real quick. It just wasn't like the Brooklyn Bridge scene in the comics is so iconic.
Yeah.
That to kind of like feel like you're shoehorning it and not giving it appropriate justice just felt like a tremendous slap in the face to the people that you theoretically should be appealing to, because the comic book readers were the ones who were willing to see the fourth version of a Spider-Man movie.
Okay, so Brandon, do you mind a spoiler about the Amazing Spider-Man 2? Do you care?
I couldn't care less.
Okay, so Gwen Stacy dies in a manner similar to how she does in the comic book. She falls, and Spider-Man catches her with his webbing, and he's really not sure if the fall killed her or if she snapped her neck on the webbing.
Oh,
but
God.
the scenario is instead of the Golden Gate Bridge, or not the Golden Gate Bridge, instead of the Brooklyn Bridge, it's in a fucking clock tower, right?
Yeah.
And he's fighting the Green Goblin, but the Green Goblin, it's Harry, it's not Norman. Harry Osborn is the Green Goblin in this, and like Brian said, it was very, very rough. And to be honest with you, I mean, the Green Goblin had no fucking place in this movie.
Yeah.
It was. I mean, they could have ended the movie with him becoming the Green Goblin and then transitioning, into the third one, and that would have been much better, in my opinion. Of course, that's never going to happen now. But for what it was, I thought it was I thought it was great. People hated it. I thought it was a fun movie. I thought Electro was well done. I thought Paul Giamatti as a Rhino was a little weird, but it worked.
Yeah. I think people are just burnt out on Spider-Man. I think that's a lot.
I know we're getting him again next year. He's in Captain America: Civil War.
Yeah.
And I'm so burnt out on superheroes in general now.
I think we're gonna. You know what? I think the end is near for superhero movies for a while. I really, really do.
I do not. I see it. They're picking up steam. They just keep going,
Yeah.
man. It's a freight train. It's a runaway freight train. They're not stopping anytime soon.
When Ant-Man hits at the box office, I assume that means there's no bottom of the barrel. I mean, they're going to go for whatever they can find.
Yep.
Yeah, but see, I don't know. I don't know. What I think is going to happen is I think it's going to be very similar to what happened to the gaming industry in 1983. Oversaturation. You can only take so much. I get that I love superhero movies. At the same time, I'm ready for something new. Like I'll give you an example. I am far 110% more interested in Star Wars right now, new Star Wars movies, than I am new superhero movies. Period. But it's because I haven't had a new Star Wars movie in years, and I get a new superhero movie every year, and I'm like, okay, cool. Deadpool's coming out, I'm excited.
Multiple superhero movies every year.
Yeah, you get 3 to 4 a year. I'm like, Captain America's coming out next year. That's
And they're
cool.
all like connected universe stuff, so it's like the same movie over and over again.
I have not seen Ant-Man yet. I have not. I never saw Thor 2 in theaters. But having said that, I will go see Star Wars: The Force Awakens fucking day one. I am ridiculously excited about that movie, and it's because I haven't gotten in a while. And it goes back to annually, and we can tie this all back into games. It's the same reason that I don't get jacked up about Call of Duty or Assassin's Creed. It's because I get it every fucking year. Why would I get excited about it? Why would I
used to get excited about Call of Duty.
I used to too.
Like 10 years ago.
But 10 years ago when fucking Modern Warfare came out for the first time, and I was like, this is revolutionary.
Call of Duty 2. Like back then, I used to get excited.
When I played Modern Warfare, and it's that scene when you're in the fucking C-130 gunship, and that was amazing to me. I was like,
I could play that for hours.
Yeah, seriously, dude. I was like, this is great. And now that we got Black Ops 3 coming out, I'm like, I don't care. I don't even plan on buying it. I bought Advanced Warfare last year. I played about maybe 2-3 hours of the campaign, and I put it down, and I never played it again.
It's a decent campaign.
I've actually heard, and which is a shame because you are not the only person to tell me that. I've heard the campaign is actually pretty good. you know, and Kevin Spacey always helps. You know,
They're kind of victims. They're victims of their own stereotype at this point because they've routinely put out relatively ass campaigns with decent multiplayer. Most people at this point aren't even really willing to give the campaign a chance, which is unfortunate. Like you said, Advanced Warfare actually had a pretty good one. Kevin Spacey comes in. It's actually a decent storyline. There's some actual. You could tell that they're at least trying now. But the problem is when you don't try for so long, people stop willing to give you the benefit of the doubt, and that's kind of what I think these annualized games are coming to, is nobody's willing to give these franchises a chance again, because it's like, dude, you give me the same shovel of crap every year, I'm done buying it, you know?
Yeah, you know, it kind of brings us full circle, because I think we're looking again at this AAA model and how sustainable it is, and I think it's kind of moving to more of a brand. And, you know, they try and put a lot of hours into 1 or 2 titles a year, and then hope they can collaborate on a few that can hit at the box office, so to speak, and sell more than they expect, and that's where they make their money. I mean, Mad Max, it would show us that, because they've abandoned Just Cause. The main development team sidelined that, and then they went after Mad Max. They put somebody else on Just Cause. I'm not sure who it was.
Really? I didn't know that.
It's still Avalanche, but it's like a sub studio of Avalanche. So the main developers are in Sweden, and then they have a sub studio in New York. And the Swedish guys are the ones who made Mad Max, and the newbies and the New York team, who are industry veterans. They're not just like some random schmoes they hired out of college, but and they're the ones making Just Cause 3.
No,
that kind of nothing against the team in New York, but I think it's kind of telling that they, you know, are taking this as the main project because they're trying to start maybe a new franchise or catch somebody by surprise.
I think it was more like I think it was a pet project for them. I bet there was just a lot of people at the Swedish office that really loved Mad Max, and they're like, "Yeah, we should do this."
Yeah.
So I mean, people love it. I mean, Metacritic probably doesn't, but people like it.
Let's see how Just Cause 3 is received.
Well, let me ask you guys this, and then we'll kind of bring it to a close here. I'm curious, what are you guys excited for this fall?
Uncharted collection.
I'm gonna play some Rock Band.
Yeah, new Guitar Hero.
For me, there's no question. It's going to be the Fallout 4 release. It's going to be what drives new consoles. It's going to be what drives, I mean, the first real big game that's going to have the idea of modding becoming a real big thing with the console industry. I think it's got the chance. I mean, the E3 trailers looked sensational. All the gameplay trailers have looked amazing. I think, and Bethesda, it's funny that we've been talking about these annualization of titles over and over. Bethesda, to their credit, do not do this. They wait their 4 years, 3 years, whatever it takes until they're happy with the game, and then they say, "Here you go. Now we feel good with it. Do
and
it."
They bolster the years in between with their solid first party efforts. So they got they own Machine Games, put out Wolfenstein last year. They own Tango Gameworks, put out Evil Within last year.
Yep, exactly. Well, that's the thing is Bethesda, unlike a lot of these other AAA places, they're not so desperate to find new intellectual properties. They're willing to gamble on new intellectual properties, and that's the problem. Is places like Activision and EA, they want the sure thing. They want the annualized title because they know that this will sell on name recognition. They don't necessarily want to rely on the new IPs. Whereas Bethesda says, "Yeah, we'll totally chase new IPs because that's how this thing doesn't get stale."
You know, and kind of jumping off of that, another company that does the exact same thing, I have a lot of respect for them, is Rockstar and Grand Theft Auto. You know, I'm not the biggest Grand Theft Auto guy, but I will say this:
I am.
They put out one game every 5 fucking years, and it is gold.
Yep.
I've been playing that shit since 1998, and they've been amazing ever since.
And that is how your franchise doesn't get stale.
Yep.
You don't release it all the time, and every time you do, you bring something new to the table.
I mean, dude. Whenever there's, and look at what's going on with Fallout 4 right now, and it's the same thing that happened with GTA 5 in 2013. When these games release, it's a fucking event.
Yep.
It is event. There are fucking people with cameras there. Lines are around the building. People anticipate these games because they're salivating over them for years and years and years. Every year when Assassin's Creed or Call of Duty comes out, they're like, okay. It's another Assassin's Creed.
They still sell, man. Assassin's Creed. I don't understand how Assassin's Creed sells so many copies.
No, they still sell, but it's not a fucking. It's not a once every 5 years kind of thing. Like for example, when the big rumor was that Fallout 4 was going to be announced at Bethesda's E3 conference. I normally don't. I normally watch the Xbox and the Sony conferences, and that's it. this was the first time I've watched a non-Sony or Microsoft conference. I was like, I have to tune in. I have to see them announce Fallout 4. When these games get announced and when they get released, it only happens once. When we get a fucking Elder Scrolls 6 in 2019.
Yep.
Yeah, that'll be a big deal.
It's going to be the exact same thing. Or when we get GTA 6 in 2018, calling it
How
now.
about Red Dead 3?
I cannot wait for Red Dead 2, man. Or Red Dead 3, I guess. Yeah, I cannot fucking wait. I absolutely love the Red Dead game.
That's funny because a lot of people don't realize that Red Dead Revolver was, the first
one. Yeah, I have to remind myself of that. No,
which is such an underrated game. It actually really, I remember playing it and just thinking, wow, this is really
made by
good.
Capcom.
Was it really?
Yep.
Yeah, Capcom made Red Dead Revolver, and then Rockstar published it.
Mm-hmm.
I think
Rockstar developed a little bit of it and then published it. It was a weird situation with that one. They bought the thing from Capcom because Capcom had developed 80 or 90% of it, and then Rockstar finished it and published it, and then they owned the Red Dead IP.
Yep.
My wife played through Red Dead Redemption the entire game, and when she got to the part with John Marston, you guys know what I'm talking about, in the barn, in case anybody who's watching or will watch hasn't played it, when he walks
the
up,
best game endings of all time.
She put the controller down and she put her hand over her mouth.
Because she knew what was going to happen?
No, she had no idea.
Oh.
Yeah, she had no idea. And she was like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. And then, you pick up later and you're playing as another character, and then, that happens. And she, he turns around, he faces the camera, and the screen grows red. It says, that's it. And she puts the controller down and she says, that was perfect.
Yep.
That was perfect. That's all I need. And you know what? The game never got any story DLC, and I thank Rockstar 100 times for that. It ended the way it needed to end. And that's what I love about that game. It was the same thing for I guess it wasn't the same thing. I didn't think BioShock Infinite was going to get any story DLC. I wish it hadn't, because the core game was perfect to me. But then we start going down a whole other road of fucking unnecessary DLC, and I don't want to do that. I will say that the game I'm looking forward to the most this year, actually, I'm not even sure will release this year, and it's No Man's Sky.
Oh man,
that does look good too.
When is that coming out? Yeah.
It's
not this year. Let's just accept it.
The rumor is that they want it to come out this year. They don't know if it will.
It's not.
If it does come out this year, I am so fucking interested in what they're trying to do with this game. I read a really interesting story about No Man's Sky in which the developers actually developed a satellite that goes and explores all these planets within the game.
Automatically.
Yeah, and it's finding planets that they didn't know were there.
I believe it.
I read that and my brain just melted into a puddle under the floor. If you want to talk about next generation, that is it.
How much is that game going to cost? Because they haven't talked about that.
Is it
going to be a $20 PSN download?
I don't know. I would pay. As it stands right now, I would pay $60 for it.
I probably would too, but I'm just
because just the thought of just being able to jump in a starship that I can customize, fly to some planet that no other player may ever see, and explore it and catalog it, and that to me just fucking.
It's like it's like Minecraft in space. It's just this.
Absolutely.
The world is what you make of it.
They say that it will be impossible for any one gamer to visit every planet. Impossible. I mean, when you say that there are planets in the game that we made that we didn't know existed, I mean, I can't even begin to comprehend that. And that to me, what No Man's will it work? I don't know if it'll work or not. I don't know if it's going to be a huge failure or not. But I will say that it is the one game right now that I'm the absolute most interested in. The concept itself just fucking fascinates me. It really, really does. And so that is, provided it releases this year, that is my most anticipated game. If it doesn't, it's got to be Battlefront.
Yeah, it's got to be.
Yeah.
Got to be Battlefront, followed by a close second with Fallout 4.
Mm-hmm.
We're getting a beta in October for Battlefront.
We are, and I have no idea how to sign up or when the sign up comes out. But as soon as it does, I am there because.
You can do it.
Already?
Well, actually, no. I'm looking at it.
I was going to say, I don't think you can sign up for the beta right now.
They'll send you an email with it if you sign up.
Battlefront comes out the week before Uncharted, so
Yeah,
I don't know.
it's a really overstuffed holiday. You got the Uncharted collection, which I know I'm picking up. You got Battlefront. You got
Free
Fallout.
games.
There's too many fucking games. The Just Cause 3. Fucking, if you're an Xbox guy, you got Halo. You got Rise of the Tomb Raider. It's just, and Brian, I know you're a PC guy, but I know you're getting an Xbox One for Halo.
Yeah.
It's a great time to be a gamer. You know, I don't get into the whole console war thing. I think there are great things about both consoles, and it's just a really, really good time to be a gamer. It truly is.
And the competition between the two companies primarily also drives better development. So
It does.
it's
It
not
really
really
does. I'm primarily a PlayStation guy, but I take great pleasure in every success that Microsoft has because it only makes the industry stronger.
Agreed.
Absolutely. Anybody got anything else? I think I'm tapped.
We'll end on the truce.
The
I'll
truce.
play
The
some
great
Metal
game.
Gear Solid.
That's exactly what I plan on doing. All right, guys. Thanks for joining us. This has been the first episode of the Super Deformed Gamescast, coming live every Saturday at 8 p.m. Sometimes it may be all of us. Sometimes it may be 2 of us or 3 of us. And as always, it may not be perfect. It may not be scripted. It may not be poetry, but it's always real. So everybody, thanks for joining us, and we will see you guys next week.
Good night, guys.
Brian, stick around for a minute, okay?
Okay.